am Jason Bells. This is All Belz No Whistles. I am back again, super excited to talk to Dr. Allison. And is it doctor? Can I say doctor?
Technically, yes.
Yes.
I have a doctorate.
Okay, perfect. So last time we chatted, we introduced that you are sharing space with us now. Couldn't be more excited about that. But what I want to dive into now is, we talked about the injuries. It seems so weird to say injuries that you like to treat because we never want an athlete to get injured.
Correct.
But it does happen, no matter how much injury prevention they do.
Mm-hmm.
Sports is chaotic.
Yep.
Things happen that are out of our control.
Mm-hmm.
So you had mentioned that, long-term treatment is what really fires you up, is what, maybe you're in this business to do, is to really help those athletes. And in our space of soccer, the prevalence of ACL tears for female soccer players is just so high, and it seems like it just keeps getting higher. And that's an injury, a treatment that you enjoy. Tell me kind of how did that become the thing?
Yeah.
Because it's one of my things too. So.
Yeah. I guess I would probably say it started in high school when I had a handful of friends unfortunately tear their ACLs. Didn't impact me a ton at that point, but watching that happen multiple times, I was kind of like, this is really unfortunate for my friends. How does this keep happening? Like, I had a friend that tore it twice, and I saw it happen both times, and I was like, this is just heartbreaking. Yeah, and I just wanted to kind of get into that space where maybe I could just learn more about it so that ideally I could help people that find themselves in that position. I think just kind of being surrounded by it in the sports that I played, again, it was just so prevalent that kind of piqued my interest. And then through physical therapy school, learning more about it. And then again, having that opportunity of, okay, I get to work with these people for 6, 9, 12 months, which, yes, is a very long time in an athlete's life.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, just that opportunity to get to know those people, those athletes, their families. I really enjoy working with people in that sense.
So where we've seen a lot of ACL injuries get cleared from PT, they find us for the return to play, whether it's from the surgeon that sent them, PT, or they just happen to stumble upon us. We've seen some athletes that it blows my mind that they've been cleared to do anything, like walk even. We had one girl that, we just wanted to see how confident she was in deceleration. So I put her on a 4-inch block, and I just asked her to step off of it. And she was like, no, I don't want to do that. And she was cleared from PT. And granted, I understand that the U.S. healthcare system sucks and plays a major role in that.
Facts.
But we're talking 4 inches. And she was like, nah. Right. And then we've seen athletes that come in and like, sheesh, like, I don't even know if you need us. Like, you look great. Like, let's go. And so my biggest question in life in the healthcare system has always been like, how do athletes, and I guess parents of athletes more so, know that like they're getting a good PT, like what should PT for an ACL look like? So if parents and athletes are like, that's not what I'm getting, they can stop now and find you. Or if they're not from around here, someone that is truly getting them back for soccer. Because I see a lot of times it's like, I feel like the PT just got them back to like live life. Like, like they're not a soccer player. They're me. They're 44 years old and work a desk job and just need to go up and down the stairs and be able to carry groceries, right? Like that's what they got them ready for, not the sport of soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big, long question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yes. I kind of want to go two-pronged approach.
Yes.
First one, I do want to reemphasize what you said in that I think there's a lot of shortcomings in the US healthcare system in that insurance companies like to limit visits, they like to limit visit times. And so sometimes that can really put physical therapists at a disadvantage. Um, and it's incredibly frustrating when you find out you only get 20 visits a year, and yet an ACL, it's going to be about a 9-month process. And so it's really hard to achieve what needs to be achieved with those limitations. Granted, there are also lots of other avenues that can be taken to help with that. But yeah, it's incredibly frustrating to just kind of feel held back or restrained in that manner when you just want to help people, especially when you know how much help they need. And like I said, like 20 visits or something, that's not the answer.
That's 2 a month,
It's,
basically,
yeah,
for
exactly. It's just
further rehab. Like, no,
yeah,
nobody's getting better at 2
yeah,
a month.
exactly. Incredibly frustrating. So that's the first answer. Second answer, how do people know if it's good rehab for an ACL, especially? I think one of probably the biggest kind of red flags to be mindful of is if somebody says, okay, you've reached this time point, let's start doing this. An ACL rehab should not be based on time. It should be based on achieving certain goals and progress markers. For example, going back to something like running, which is that's one of the first questions we get as PTs. Okay, when can I run again? When can I play again? Running should be, it's going to be largely based on a strength test. There's going to be other movement assessments, but you need to have decent symmetry between your involved or your surgical leg and your uninvolved leg. One of the best ways to kind of measure that or be mindful of that is I love having physical therapy before surgery, just 1 or 2 visits to get a baseline of where not only their surgical leg is, but where their uninvolved leg is. Research shows time and time again that throughout the ACL rehab process, not only does their surgical leg weaken, but so does their uninvolved leg. And so a lot of the clearance factors for kind of going back to play, going back to running, those sort of things, it's that limb symmetry. And so we want to measure where they're at their healthiest.
Yeah.
Because ideally we want to get them back to that point or even stronger. So that way, obviously, this hopefully doesn't become a problem for them again. So yeah, if somebody comes up to you and says, okay, you're at 3 months, let's start running today.
Run. Actually, run away from them.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's something just to be wearisome of. Again, you walk in the doctor's office and he says, okay, 6 months, let's go back to playing. Yeah. So anything that's based around a time frame instead of achieving certain progress points, markers, goals, that's something to be a little bit wary of.
In seeing some of the athletes that we've seen, it's great to have these timelines, right? But I've looked at some athletes that, they've gotten cleared, but it's based on, what you just said, not involved comparison. But then my thought is like, how weak were you before this happened? Because the way I see you, like, even if you came to see me and you weren't an ACL repair, I would be terrified just watching you play anyway.
Yeah.
And so, like, will that also affect the timeline from a rehab standpoint of like, hey kiddo, like you were super weak to begin with. Like we need to do a lot, like beyond just the surgically repaired leg and getting it back strong. Like you just need to get
stronger. Yeah.
Like, is that part of it too?
Definitely. Yeah. And that's also kind of along those same lines. Anytime, I'm sure you experience this day in and day out, but anytime you're working with human beings, it's going to be different. Just because your teammate healed they were released at 7 months and you don't get released till 10 months does not mean that you are lesser, slower, anything in that regard. It's just human beings are different. And that's one message I really try to drive home with my athletes, just because, especially with female soccer players, if one of them's had an ACL, they've probably got 2 or 3 or potentially 4 other teammates that unfortunately have done the same thing. And they keep, oh, well, my teammate's back. Okay, you're different than that person next to you.
Yeah.
Yes, it could have been maybe a strength deficit beforehand that unfortunately led you to this. It could have been, yeah, a movement mechanics issue that I'm sure you
Yeah.
see as well. And yes, sometimes it takes a while to kind of remap those patterns essentially. And so, yeah, weakness, movement mechanic deficits beforehand, yeah, can contribute to the time frame. But it's also human beings, man.
Yeah.
You never know.
Or they could have got released because their PT and doctor didn't do their job and they were released too early. Right? Like,
Sometimes that happens as well.
like that
Yes.
could be why they were released at 7, because they weren't
Yeah.
getting the quality of care that you are getting. And, you know, the re-tear rates
Yeah.
are high,
Mhm.
right? And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you definitely dive into more research than I do, but for a long time it was like a year post-op is when the re-tear rates really kind of fell off a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still it with the number of athletes that we're seeing now and doing studies on? Is it still a year? Has it bumped up earlier?
I have seen the re-tear rates after 2 years from like date of surgery or injury. 2 years after that, if you go back to play in that 9 to 12 month time frame, and so you play for another 12 or so months after that 2 year mark, that's when the rate of re-tear really declines. So it's kind of a 2 year window. I've also seen recently that yes, getting released back to play within any time before 8 or 9 months, there is an increased likelihood of re-tearing. No matter how strong you are, no matter what functional hop tests you passed,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's kind of that 9 to 12 month range for being released back to play is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Knowing that it could take a year and a half, sometimes 2 years before you feel truly back
Yeah.
to yourself. And then once you get to that 2 year time frame, that's kind of when that rate of re-tear tends to decline.
Yeah, because
It's a
that's
long time.
hard. It also,
Yeah.
you know, I can't imagine being in the athlete's shoes through any of it. You're out. You can't play this game that, assuming you love,
Mm-hmm.
right, with a group of people that you likely love a lot, and so you do want to get back. But we do have to weigh the the cost
Mm-hmm.
benefits of re-tear, and then it also, if they're playing at a level that college is a goal, like, do you tear it right before your recruiting window opens up? Do you
Mm-hmm.
tear it in the middle? Do you tear it after you're committed? Like, I just can't. I can't imagine what the kiddos struggle with, and so we do our best to
Yeah.
provide information and do the work with them. But that's really all we can do. Yeah.
Yeah. It does break my heart that there isn't a better solution for something like this yet. That and like Tommy John surgery of the elbow. Why haven't we found like a bionic
All right.
ligament to put in there that's indestructible?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
come on, Western medicine,
Wait.
figure it out.
Why don't you invent that and become like
Oh,
the
man.
first PT
Whew.
trillionaire in the world?
Yeah, definitely
Like,
not smart enough for that. But
I mean, I feel like I say that like once a week in my life of, man, if I just
do that.
invented this one thing, that'd be great. But it's like, I
Yes.
don't know how to do any of it. I would
Yes.
have to hire like
Mhm.
700 people to help me invent a thing that
Mhm.
would probably.
And then you wouldn't make very much money yourself
No, I
because you'd
wouldn't.
have to share it with 700 people. I know.
Dang it.
We'll have to.
Maybe we just stumble upon it,
Exactly.
have a good dream, and be like, whoa, that was it.
We got it.
Start scribbling on the whiteboard. I love it. Well, hey, thank you so much for chatting ACLs.
Mm-hmm.
I loved
Anytime.
it. Where can an ACL athlete or parent of an athlete or coach of a team that coaches girls who's happened to tear ACLs, where can they find you, get more information, talk to you about PT if they need to?
Yeah, so I would love it if they just went to my website, gamechangerptkc.com. There's all kinds of information on there about what physical therapy would be like if the athlete came to me, but also there's some interesting facts about ACLs and just kind of what the ACL rehab process is and should be like. So they can get information off of that, or There's also my phone numbers on there, my email. I'd love to answer any and all questions. I know, yes, especially if you're a parent, your kid goes down with something like an ACL, it's going to be a long process, but other than the doctor saying, okay, we're going to do surgery, we're going to do this kind of reconstruction with this kind of graft, there is or isn't a meniscus involvement beyond, okay, if there's meniscus, you can't walk for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I feel like sometimes just the medical system we lack in really trying to paint the picture or give them a broad
Yeah.
scope or a broad picture of what it's going to be like. And so,
That's awesome.
Going to the website, or yes, please reach out to me. Even if physical therapy doesn't work with me, I'm happy to answer any and all questions about it, because it can be a daunting process, and I just want people to feel like they have somebody in their corner throughout that journey.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again. I can't wait to have another conversation.
Same.
Awesome.